bad news begets bad news. Things weren't going so well for Coach Shroom lately, and now it seemed that one of our most important team members was ready to call it a day. You see, the Azumarill we had was from a time long gone, and it turned out they just couldn't stand up to the pressure no more. But it was too late to bring in a replacement now. If we were going to be saved on this one, it was going to have to come from an outside source. Max Striker speaking.
Hello, Mr. Striker. You may not know me, but I'm an old friend of Shroom's.
Been a lot of that going around lately. You'll forgive me for being a little reticent to trust your word.
I understand the reluctance. Perhaps an olive branch, then. To prove I'm not your enemy.
Nah, hold up. I gotta know who this is.
People used to know me by a different name. But for now, you can call me Kyle.
If all you're gonna offer is a name...
One of your team members intends to retire. I know the timing may be less than ideal. Don't ask how I learned of this. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it's too late in the season to bring in a replacement. You know, transfer deadlines and such. Wasn't always this way.
You're not just a random citizen, are you? You've done this before. You're OG Draft League.
Like I said, Mr. Striker, I'm an old friend of Shroom's. We go way back. The good old days. Anyway, what you need isn't a new member. It's a new model. Your Azumarill is a bit outdated. I can give you a new one. More fit for the current landscape. One more prepared for the task ahead.
And why would you do that?
Because Shroom still has friends outside of Draft League City who don't have an agenda. Your new, shiny replacement model should be arriving imminently. Oh, and one more thing. What's Shroom luck for me?
Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome to PPL week number 7. Yes indeed, last time we took a pretty rough loss. A lot of things didn't go our way. We need to get ourselves back on track. And this week we are taking on Ark and the North Dakota Nightmares. Their links down in the description below. With everyone else, make sure you check them out. Not someone I know very well, Ark, certainly not someone I've ever battled before. They took over a team coming into this league, and they've been doing bits with it, if I'll be honest. The team they can choose from is going to be Meowscarada, Salamence, Lycanroc Dusk, Excadrill, Rotom Heat, Okidogi, Yanmega, Porygon-Z, Hippowdon, Slowbro, Houndstone, and Raichu. So they've got a lot of very nasty offensive options here. Those 3 Terra Captains in Lycanroc Dusk, Yanmega, and Porygon-Z, all incredibly offensive threats. They have a Sand potential there with the Hippowdon, Houndstone, Excadrill going on. Excellent versatile lead options in the likes of Meowscarada, even the Raichu. Potential annoying defensive options if they don't go Sand. Then that Houndstone can still do a job along with the likes of Slowbro and Rotom Heat. Okidogi is a menace even without Terra. There's a lot of danger that can come on this team. So we are going to start things off with a very physically defensive Rindoberry Great Tusk, max HP 152 defense Impish, Earthquake, Rock Tomb, Rapid Spin, and Stealth Rock there. Rocks could be very useful. Removal options on Ark's team pretty much limited to Excadrill, which if the sand form does come with Excadrill, they may not want to be running that. So rocks could be useful. Spin, equally good. You know, hazards on Arc sides, there's a lot of potential there. Not just in the likes of Lead Meowscarada, but things like an offensive rocker in Lycanroc. Hippowdon, of course, is a very reliable rocket in and of itself. So options there. I want to run Rock Tomb for a bit of speed control against the likes of Speed Boost Yanmega, Dragon Dance on the Lycanroc, Dragon Dance on the Salamence, and the potential spinning Excadrill and trying to get it lowered in sand potentially as well if it comes to that. Rindo kind of just there to tank a hit hopefully from the Meowscarada, or like a Terra Blast Grass from something, and hit back with a Rock Tomb to lower that speed and get something else in, get rocks up, get own hazards away. It's a lot of things that Great Tusk has to do. But we do want to run hazards of our own. Like I say, hazard removal on Ark's team is not great, so we are going to be rocking out with Heavy Duty Boots, Toxic Spikes, Iron Moth here. Fire Dance, Psychic, and Energy Ball, the coverage moves of choice. We have 164 speed, Timid, with max special attack, just to be outspeeding the likes of, I want to say the Excadrill, and the PZ for certain, the Yanmega, things like that. This thing is probably not a win con, but it would be nice to get up hazards super early. If, for example, the Okidogi and the Excadrill aren't there, then T-Spikes are really kind of free against Ark's team. And it'd be nice to wear down things like the Houndstone, the Slowbro, the Hippowdon, and, you know, obviously there's a few things that are immune to them, but we can hopefully deal with those as and when they come. Then we have what is certainly a potential win con. We are going full balls to the wall with Dragon Fang, Terra Dragon, Haxorus. When Ark took over this team, they made a lot of changes. One of those was to get rid of Granbull and not bring in another Fairy. The only Dragon resist is going to be Excadrill and offensive Terramons. So we have Dragon Dance, Dragon Fang, Terra Dragon, Outrage, Dragon Claw, and Iron Heads, as well as Dragon Dance. Like, if we get a DD up outside of Scarfers, this thing can just win. Excadrill is, unless it's like very invested in HP and some in defense, is dying to that +1 outrage when I'm terrored. The Hippowdon, the Slowbro, even a fluffy Houndstone with my Mold Breaker, all at the very least 2-hit KO'd. Everything else does just drop. So, you know, if we can get a DD up with Haxorus, I know we've had problems with that in the last couple of games, people sort of getting wise to it. I have anticipated Scarfers coming where Scarfers just haven't, which is odd, but I'm certainly anticipating stuff like a Scarf. Salamence, for example, could be here. Any of those Terra Captains, probably outside of the Lycanroc, could very easily be Scarf too, and indeed Meowscarada could be like a Scarf lead or just a Scarf in the back for this very scenario. So, you know, it could be difficult to get a DD up, but if we do, then Haxorus is going to claim souls. That's basically the plan there. But we do need some hits to be taken, and whilst it looks like stuff like the Meowscarada, the Excadrill, the Salamence are the big problems, and they are big problems, but it's those specially offensive Terra Captains, the Yanmega and the PZ, that give me sleepless nights. So, what I have is a fast Assault Vest, what's this thing called? Iron Crown. We've gone near max HP, 172 in speed, 40 special attack with a modest nature, and summon to death. This is hopefully going to allow us to take at least 2 hits from a non-boosting PZ, going for like Shadow Ball, and its main thing here is to try and take on that Yanmega. Even if the thing is Terra Ground, we will live a hit from it if it specs, and if it's not Terra Ground, then we should be living any 2. Tachyon Cutter, Psyshock, Focus Blast, and Volt Switch, very standard stuff on an AV Iron Crown to hit things as hard as possible. And speaking of hitting things as hard as possible with regular sets, we have our new look Azumarill. New look, same old set, it's banded. Max attack, Adamant, 136 in defense to try and take hits a bit better from the likes of Lycanroc and Salamence and Excadrill. Player off Liquidation, Aquajet, and Knockoff. Yeah, it's a banded Azumarill. It be how it do, you know. We just hit things as hard as possible. We save Aquajet in case we need it when things are low to pick off weakened threats, and we go from there. And final member of the team is going to be Covert Cloak Sinister. This is my main answer to that Excadrill. You know, the team I have looks okay, but Excadrill in sand, especially if it's Shooker for an Earthquake from Great Tusk, is going to be a problem. So, very physically defensive Covert Cloak Sinister here with Matcha Gotcha, Shadow Ball, Foul Play, and Strength Sap. Very standard stuff once again. I was sort of umming and ahhing between Rocky Helmet and Covert Cloak, but if that Excadrill comes and the Sinister is going to come in on it, stuff like Aerial Ace just isn't going to cut the mustard. So the thing I would imagine that they would want to go for is going to be Iron Head to get the flinches to put me in range. So we have Covert Cloak to get around that, Strength Sap to get the health back, and try and 1v1 it with Matcha Gotcha and Foul Play if it's an SD variant. So that is the team I'm going into this game with. Let's get over to the battle screen and see what Arc has decided to bring against us. So, as you can see, Arc has decided to bring PZ, Salamence, Houndstone, the Hippowdon, Yanmega, and the Meowscarada. Now, that is Terra Normal PZ and Terra Flying Yanmega. So, they're going balls to the wall, stab Terras as well as me. But, there is no Excadrill, and there is no Okidogi. And I would really love to get T-Spikes up. You know, there's the Ments and the Yanmega that are immune to them, but those other four things, especially the Houndstone and the Hippo, I would love to get them worn down with T-Spikes if possible. So I'm going to lead with my Iron Moth. Let's see what Arc decides to do to respond. So, here we go. PPL Week 7 against Arc and the North Dakota Nightmares. There they are, going to be leading off with the Meowscarada, as I'm going to go with my Iron Moth. This is a fine lead for me. There is precious little that any general Meowscarada can do to an Iron Moth. The lead would imply either Scarf or Sash. If it's Sash, it could well be Hazards, but like I say, I want Hazards of my own up as soon as possible. Those T-Spikes could go a really long way to chipping down some of those bulkier pieces on the team, the Hippo, the Houndstone, and indeed this thing if it wants to switch out, plus the PZ taking chip damage on an offensive threat is not necessarily something that Arc is going to want. So while going for Fiery Dance and trying to break this thing's Sash would be nice, if it is indeed a Sash, I want to get those T-Spikes up. Arc is thinking the same way though. I do have removal on my side, but those spikes are going to put a lot of pressure on Great Tusk to try and spin when there is a Ghost on the opposite side. So we trade Hazards turn 1. Spikes go up on my side. T-Spikes are going to go up on Arc's. And now we're going to switch things up and go for damage. Power Gem is going to come in from the Meowscarada, and it's going to score a crit, which sucks. I go for Energy Ball because this thing is now a ground type, and we do indeed see that it is Focus Sash. That crit kind of sucks. You know, it's touch and go as to whether I will die to another Power Gem. Lead Meowscarada is always something to, you know, bear in mind. Special lead Meowscarada, not what I was expecting, and from the damage, even from a crit, this thing has some investment. So now it just comes down to trying to get rid of this thing. As I say, it's touch and go as to whether another Power Gem will kill. I think Arc will know that too. So it's looking to me like another Spike is probably going to go up on my side. This Meowscarada does kind of need to go, and while a second layer of T-Spikes would be nice, what would be nicer is to go for a Fiery Dance and try and nab a boost. And that is how things are going to play out. The spikes are going to go up from the Meowscarada. So a second layer up there, if I can spin, that's not too bad of a thing. We are going to go for the Fiery Dance, and that is, of course, going to take out the Meowscarada from there. Unfortunately, we are not going to get the special attack boost, which does kind of suck a little bit, because that would put insane amounts of pressure onto Arc, facing down a +1 Moth that could potentially take out everything on his team if there are no Scarfers. It is going to be the Hippowdon that comes in to get that sand up. Now, Iron Moth can get a big chunk of damage onto this thing with an Energy Ball, especially if it isn't specially defensive. And while Iron Moth would be useful for a number of things, especially if there aren't any Scarfers, which again I'm kind of anticipating there's going to be at least one hidden in there somewhere, probably looking at that team, the PZ or the Salamence, given that it wasn't this Meowscarada. But what I'm going to do here is just go for the Energy Ball. If I can get rid of the Sand Setter as early as possible, that gives Arc a lot fewer options when it comes to the Houndstone trying to do a lot of meaningful work. So, getting rid of this Hippowdon has become something of a priority for me. But Ark is not going to let his Sandsetter go down so easily, which makes a lot of sense. It is going to be the Houndstone that comes in. It is going to take the poison damage. And I, as I say, am just going to go for the Energy Ball. Now, I don't have a special attack boost, and that is not going to do a massive amount of damage. But this thing is being chunked down by toxic damage. Now, I really got caught up in my own head here. I've seen the sand, and I've seen the switch directly into this this Houndstone. And I'm like, well, there's a chance that I can live a Shadow Sneak. So I can just go for a Fire Dance and do a big amount of damage to this thing and try and get off the field of play. This is my own stupid fault, just not paying attention to everything I'd prepped for, which is the fact that this thing gets Sand Rush. And it just goes for a Poltergeist, and it's just going to kill me. That was a dumb play on my part. I could really easily have just gone into my Great Tusk as it is. A real dumb play on my part, and my Iron Moth goes down for nothing. We see that this thing is a Life Orb variant. It's taking Life Orb, it's taken Toxic. It's not going to last all that much longer. But Great Tusk is the only thing that's realistically going to take a Life Orb Poltergeist from this thing. So that is what I have to go into here. So it is going to be the Great Tusk that hits the field, takes a bit of Spikes damage. Now, I know and Ark knows that even if it's like a Play Rough, there is a fair to middling chance at least that this Great Tusk does not go down here. And it will kill through the combination of that thing taking Life Orb and poison damage and any hit I go for. So my thinking is, with his Sandsetter still very much active, he can save this for later and probably go into one of his ground immunities. Offensive switch into Salamence or Yanmega could put him in a really strong position, especially if it's the Yanmega getting in before Rocks. So while Rocks would be really nice, what I'm going to do here is go for Rock Tomb and try and catch one of those flying types on the switch in. As it is, he's going to stay in and go for Destiny Bond. Not what I was expecting at all. As it is, I go for Rock Tomb. That's not going to kill the Houndstone. And as you'll see, the Houndstone is then going to go down to the subsequent poison damage. Now this may look great on paper. Unfortunately, what it means is that I don't get my rocks up. And now what Ark can do is go into something that can absolutely directly threaten my Great Tusk, be that the Yanmega or the Porygon-Z, or even the Salamence, if it's going to be a setup variant with Dragon Dance and Flying Stab. However, he has seen Rock Tomb, and Great Tusk can be built to take any number of hits, so the most realistic choice for him to go into here is going to be probably the PZ, maybe the Hippowdon to try and wear me down. Since he doesn't have his Sand Sweeper anymore, Hippowdon plays much less of an important role outside of trying to check A, this, and B, the Haxorus. And as you'll see, it is going to be the PZ that's going to come in. Terra Normal, very threatening mon indeed. And I don't necessarily have anything that wants to switch in here. Now, if he's going for something like a Tri-Attack or, God forbid, a Hyper Beam, my Iron Crown will take it, but it won't take it well. And I'm still thinking I need Iron Crown for that Yanmega in the back. And if he goes for a normal type and I go into Sinistra, he could, if he's not Scarfed, just switch it up and go for Shadow Ball and just ruin my very existence. So, realistically, what I'm going to do in here is stay in and try and get my rocks up if possible, or go for a spin. If he isn't a boosting item, there is a chance that we can live a non-terror Tri-Attack. So I have to try and either get hazards up on his side or get rid of them on my side to better put pressure onto his team. Now, Rapid Spin is the player I go for, but unfortunately it is not going to matter. The Tri-Attack straight takes out Great Tusk because, as you'll see, it is going to be a Life Orb PZ. That is problematic, but it has taken a Life Orb tick, it has taken sand damage, and it's taken poison damage. This puts it in range of actually quite a lot of my mons. Now, the fact that he's Life Orb means that he can switch up moves to Shadow Ball if I choose to go into my Sinistra. And nothing really else wants to take that Tri-Attack because my Azumarill is not specially defensive. So what I'm kind of forced to do here is go into my Iron Crown, and from here I'm going to have to try and play quite quickly, because if that Mence comes in and sets up a DD, I'm going to be in a bit of trouble. Now, the PZ will outpace me, and it will be able to go for a Life Orb Shadow Ball, but because we're AV with near max HP, as you'll see from the incoming hit of that said Shadow Ball, we are going to live it quite handily. He takes the Life Orb Recall, and we're going to be able to go for a Tachyon Cutter. And for what I think is the first time in quite a while, actually, Iron Crown is going to pick off a threat and claim a KO, which is great. But now we're faced with a bit of a problem. The Hippowdon I don't fear at all. I have any number of things that can take it on. The Yanmega is much more of a problem, especially now that my Iron Crown's been worn down. He'll know that I'm AV from how I tanked that hit. But now the bigger problem becomes this guy, the Salamence. This could be a problem. What I'm effectively forced to do here is go for the Tachyon Cutter. Now, I'm still very much under the impression that this thing, not even necessarily that it could be scarfed, but that it should be scarfed. Because I still have my Haxorus in the back. That PZ was not scarfed, the Meowscarada was not scarfed, and the Yanmega does not naturally outpace Haxorus. So, all logical thinking in my mind means if he wants to check a +1 Haxorus, this thing has to be scarfed. And in that regard, what I have to do is just stay in, see what he locks into, and go for Tachyon Cutter for damage. Let him try and wear himself down and react from there. If he goes for Earthquake, I can go Sinistra, and that will be fine. And then the Mence goes for Dragon Dance. And now we are in just a world of hurt. As you'll see, I'm going to go for Tachyon Cutter. And that's going to do, like, a good amount of damage. But it's not doing enough, because now this thing is at +1 from Dragon Dance. It will have Earthquake, it will have Dragon Stab, and it will probably have Dual Wing Beat. And I'm running out of things on my team that want to take any of those hits. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is get out of there with Iron Crown. And I'm going to go into my Sinistra. Now, realistically speaking, there's not a whole lot I can do about this thing getting a Moxie boost. We know he's not Intimidate, we know he's Moxie. The Earthquake had to come in there, and it's going to do not very much to my Sinistra. What I now have to do is wear him down with Sand, and kind of hope that I can live this hit. Now, if he has Dual Wing Beat, he goes for it here. And with some low rolls, there is a chance I might be able to live at +1 because Sinistra's so naturally tanky. And this is where I start remembering that I was originally going to run Rocky Helmet on this Sinistra, and now I'm really wishing that I was, because that would have been really important chip damage. As it is, I am just going to click Foul Play, I believe, and hope that I can tank a Dual Wing Beat. So, in comes said Dual Wing Beat, and there is no chance of me living this hit. Sinistra is going to go down. It turns out actually there was no way I was ever going to live that with low rolls or anything. And now this Mence is at +2 attack. Now, unfortunately, the Sandstorm goes away, but this thing has taken a fair amount of chip, and now we only really have one shot here. And that is to go into Azumarill and hope that this Salamence has been brought down into range of Aqua Jet. Now, with the spikes going up, this is the Mon that has a chance, with low rolls, of living a Dual Wing Beat. So, my only real hope here is that A, he's in range of Aqua Jet, or B, if not, he can get some low rolls on Dual Wing Beat, and we can try and take him out with a subsequent one. Outside of that, I mean, we pretty much just lose here, outside of a miracle happening. So, we're going to go for the Aqua Jet, and it is not going to pick up the KO. Dual Wing Beat's going to come in. He actually does low roll the first one, but he's going to get a much better, more normal roll on the second. Now, Salamence is actually naturally decently tanky. Even with Azumarill's monumental offensive stats, that wasn't a roll. He was out of range of a max roll of Aqua Jet anyway. And, I mean, you know how the story goes. At this point, this is now a +3 attack, +1 speeds Salamence. I mean, it is pretty much game over here. I am going to go into Haxorus. Once again, this would have been really nice to have first impression, which I haven't run often on Haxorus, which is kind of a shame, and that's kind of on me. I mean, I am just going to stay in and click the Terror Dragon button and click Outrage, like, just in case there is a chance. I mean, if he doesn't click Dragon Claw for some reason, there might be a chance that with Haxorus' natural bulk, we could tank a hit. It seems wholly unlikely. As you'll see, Menta's actually going to go for Earthquake here. And it gets a crit. That crit didn't matter, it's just fucking salt in the wound. It's a fair play for him to go for Earthquake there. Pretty sure that it would have carried me anyway, and it gets around the potential of me having like Habanberry with a whole lot of defense investment. But either way, Haxorus is going to go down, and now it's just the Iron Crown left. This thing has Earthquake, it's at plus 1,000,000 attack. And this is basically just going to be game. There's nothing I can do here. I obviously am just going to stay in and click Tachyon Cutter. But as you'll see, it is going to be the Earthquake that comes in from Salamence. That is, of course, going to take out my Iron Crown. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the game. Yeah, not a great performance. It's hard to know what to say about that. I think there were plays I could have made that were better, for sure. I think I made a few errors in building, like I went against my better judgment of running Rocky Helmet on Sinistra for a scenario of a just in case that didn't really turn up, and overall Rocky Helmet just would have been better. That's on me for doing. I don't think, I mean, neither of those crits against me really mattered, they just suck. And I think my main issue there, the main thing I should have done but didn't, was going for rocks on that turn against the Houndstone when I went for Rock 2. It was a silly play of me. I should have gone for rocks. Like, I can tell you for now, I'm not going to reveal everything about the sets. Like, that's up for Ark to do. But I'm going to tell you right now, neither of those flying types were boots. So getting rocks damage on either of them would have been so big. Like, the Aquajet would have killed the Ments. The Yanmega would have at the very least been 2-hit KO'd. And their Powdon wasn't really a problem. So not going for rocks there, that was a misplay on my part. You know, completely blanking on what Houndstone does in sand, that was dumb of me. And kind of just assuming stuff about Ark's team, you know. I had such a good start to the season with Haxorus claiming kills for fun that I've gone into a lot of games thinking, well, people have to bring a Scarfer. They have to. Because there are so many scenarios where Haxorus can get to +1 speed with Dragon Dance and just win games. So I've gone into more games than I'm proud to admit, assuming people have to bring a Scarfer, and Ark just didn't. But in the end, who am I to judge the team building of someone who beat me? You know, Ark put together a very, very good offensive team. There was very little in the way of bulk on his team. He didn't need it. He just went balls to the wall offense, and it worked. And, you know, Ark's been doing bits with this new team that he has inherited and changed. So, absolutely fair play to the man. His links are down in the description. Make sure you check them out. Like I say, Ark is not someone I am massively familiar with, but I am becoming more familiar with him, having been destroyed here by another Salamence variant dragon, and just by watching his content, which I think you should do too. It's very insightful, and he's a very good battler, so you should absolutely check out his content. Ostensibly, it puts us in a rough position, 3 and 4, with a negative like 1 or something. It's not unsalvageable. Like, the worst we could do with winning out the season is going 5 and 4 +1, and people have made playoffs with worse records than that. So it's not completely out of our hands yet. But next week is a monumental week. Next week, it's not just must win for us, but things are going to get very interesting in Draft League City because we are taking on Chase Seabad, who's been popping up a little bit in Draft League City of late, hasn't he? Some interesting things have been going on. I wonder what new information will come out there, but keep your eyes peeled because that's going to be a doozy. But I'm going to get out of here. I've rambled on for far too long. It's very hot. I have a bad headache. I've had a migraine that's been going on for ages. That's why this video is also late, because I've had a migraine since Friday that's been on and off, and it's been messing with me. So I felt a bit better. I felt better enough to do this video today, but I am going to finish the recording now, and I'm going to take a break from my screen because I feel it coming back. I feel it, man. It's there. So I'm going to get out of here, having rambled on far too long, as say. My final thank you to you all for watching, and I guess with that, I will see you next time. Laters.